Hello, this is Dr. Grande. Today's question is, can I analyze the case of Lee Rodarte? Just a reminder, I'm not diagnosing anybody in this video, only speculating about what could be happening in a situation like this. If you enjoyed this video, please like it, subscribe to my channel, and consider supporting me on Patreon. I'll put the link to Patreon in the description for this video. First, I'll look at the timeline of the crime, then I'll move to my analysis. This case takes place in Jacksonville, Florida. It starts on August 2, 2017 at about 5:15 p.m. 21-year-old Savannah Gold drove to her job at a restaurant named the Bonefish Grill. Her car is seen in the parking lot, but she never goes into work. At 5:31 p.m., she stepped out of her car and talked to a man who would later be identified as Lee Rodarte, as he sat in another vehicle in the parking lot just a few spaces away from Gold's car. At 5:45 p.m., she climbed into Rodarte's vehicle. The vehicle started shaking. The rear door opened 3 times, but it was closed each time, like somebody was trying to escape the vehicle, but was being pulled back in. Rodarte exits the vehicle and walks over to Gold's car. He slashed the front driver's side tire and removed Gold's cell phone. He returned to his vehicle and drove away at 6:04 p.m. Gold did not exit his vehicle when it was in that parking lot or when it was visible as he was driving away. So this was surveillance video that was captured, but once he got a certain distance, his vehicle was out of view. So it was not immediately known what happened after that. At 6:29 p.m., Gold's father became suspicious because he received an unusual text sent from Gold's phone. The text had a number of grammatical errors and seemed inconsistent with Gold's writing style. The message essentially said that she met a guy and they were running away together. At 6:30 p.m., 1 minute later, Gold's brother received a text as well, which reinforced that narrative. They tried calling Gold's phone, but there was no answer, so they called the police. The police found Gold's car in the restaurant parking lot, as well as some personal items, but not her phone. The police interviewed the employees. The first one they interviewed was 28-year-old Lee Rodarte. He worked as a chef in that restaurant. He denied he had any contact with Gold within the last few days. Based on other interviews at the restaurant, the police realized that Rodarte was the man in the surveillance video. He was the only person identified that had a car that matched the car in the video. Rodarte was having some type of romantic relationship with Gold. On August 5, Rodarte was arrested at the restaurant for an outstanding traffic warrant. He agreed to be interviewed by the police. He admitted that he lied when he was first interviewed at the restaurant. He had in fact seen Gold on the day she disappeared. He went to the Bonefish Grill to confront her about how she was spreading rumors about the relationship. So he knew that she was working that night, and he went there deliberately to speak to her. At some point, Gold entered his vehicle. He claimed that Gold indicated that she was high on heroin and feeling paranoid. That's why she wanted to climb into his vehicle. Even though heroin use is not associated with paranoia, there are often other drugs cut into heroin, so it is certainly possible, although unlikely, that an otherwise healthy heroin user would be paranoid. Rodarte was unaware of the video surveillance which captured his vehicle. He told the investigators that a green pickup truck came by, Gold climbed into that vehicle, and the truck drove off. The detectives noticed that Rodarte had a wound on his neck. He responded that it was a self-inflicted injury. At this point, the detectives became more comfortable in applying pressure. We see that Rodarte locked into a story that was inconsistent with the video surveillance. They started asking him where Gold was. He claimed he didn't know. The police mentioned that they knew Gold never exited the vehicle. Rodarte changes his story. He said they were using drugs. He put his hands around her neck and heard a pop. After realizing she was dead and not wanting to get in trouble, he burned her body and dumped her body in a retention pond after wrapping it in plastic and duct tape. He was charged with murder in the second degree with a weapon, tampering with evidence, and abuse of a human body. It's not immediately clear what weapon was used in the crime. Rodarte has made this argument that he was acting in self-defense. So after the confession, after being charged, now he's saying that this was self-defense and kind of moving away from his original story. This brings me to the analysis. For this analysis, I'm going to run under the assumption that Rodarte is guilty because he confessed to murder. As far as I know, at the time of making this video, he has not been convicted of any crime. This case is a single homicide involving people who were, at least at one time, romantically interested in one another. Unfortunately, this type of case is not particularly unusual. In addition to the mistake of committing murder, Rodarte made the mistake of talking to the police. In a way, this mistake is consistent with the homicidal behavior in that they both seem to indicate impulsivity. They both indicate a desire to solve a problem immediately. Rodarte didn't realize that he was in for the long haul once the police were on to him. This wasn't going to be a quick fix. He needed to get an attorney. There would be an extended investigation. He would be a suspect for months or even years. And of course, there was the potential he would be convicted and sentenced to prison. He wanted the pain and the fear to go away instantly. Therefore, he talked to the police, believing he could throw them off of his trail. What makes this case stand out is really the police interrogation, specifically what happened after the confession. The confession is missing from the video that was released, but we can see what happens before and after. Rodarte is, of course, still being recorded after the detectives leave the room, something he should have realized, and maybe he did realize. He started talking to himself. He appeared to be in distress from the crime he committed and from confessing to it, because he was facing life in prison. A few examples of things that he said: "My mom's going to die when I'm in jail. Why are you here? What's wrong with you?" He questioned his own level of intelligence and apologized to Gold. He also said, "Last time you get to wear a chef coat." Although I think that there's a chance he could become a cook in prison, so he may not have closed the door on that particular opportunity. This whole conversation he had with himself has led many to feel compassion for Rodarte. The interrogation video shows the moment when a man realizes his life is functionally over. This level of compassion that some people have for Rodarte has caused others to say, don't forget about Savannah Gold. If there was a video of the homicide that was close enough to see what actually happened, surely people watching it would feel empathy and sympathy for Savannah Gold. I don't think it's an either-or situation. I think both situations are tragic. I believe what's important to remember is that Rodarte caused this through his own behavior. He had a choice in this. Gold did not. Rodarte is simply too dangerous to be free, regardless of whether this was just one impulsive mistake. Anyone who has the capacity for that type of impulsive aggression can never be trusted. Everybody is safer with Rodarte in prison. Although many people in prison are paying for just one impulsive moment, if we look at their histories in detail, many offenders work their way up to increasingly dangerous impulsive aggressive behavior, and they included some behavior that was aggressive but not impulsive, so premeditated. Furthermore, even if one wanted to argue that Rodarte is really not a bad guy and he just made one mistake in the heat of the moment, why did he burn the body and hide the body? I understand that he wanted to escape responsibility, but that in itself is problematic. It seems inconsistent with the idea that he's a good person who just made one mistake. So where does this case stand now at the time of making this video? Rodarte has changed his story again, as I mentioned, this time to self-defense. He said that he was in fear after being slapped in the face. Therefore, he accidentally broke Gold's neck. He tried to say it was a stand-your-ground case, but that claim was denied, so there will be a trial. There are a few problems with the self-defense claim. Gold didn't have a weapon. I'm not aware of one anyway. Rodarte was much heavier and physically stronger than Gold, and his extreme actions to get rid of the body are not consistent with somebody who just defended their own life from a vicious attacker. When in jail, he must have been given a copy of the pamphlet, Laughably Bad Excuses for Defending Against a Murder Charge. Not wanting to be left out of the Bad Decision Club, the police also made a key mistake. They collected data from his phone without a warrant and without his consent. This likely means that the odd text messages, the GPS information from the phone, as well as any other data collected, will be inadmissible. I think for Rodarte, the confession and the fact he led the police to the body have pretty much sealed his fate regardless of the admissibility of the data from that phone. Are there any lessons learned in this case? Gold was killed in an automobile in broad daylight, sitting in a parking lot full of cars. It's really hard to think of anything that she could have done to reduce her risk in this particular situation. This homicide occurred seemingly out of the blue. So this is a tragedy, and it's difficult to think of a way that it could have been prevented outside of Rodarte choosing not to go through with the homicide. I'm not sure that Gold really could have done anything in this situation. Those are my thoughts on the case of Lee Rodarte. Please put any opinions and thoughts in the comment section. They always generate an interesting dialogue. As always, I hope you found my analysis of this topic to be interesting. Thanks for watching.